Welcome to my YouTube people. I am simultaneously talking to people inside Clubhouse right now. So if you see me looking down at my phone, it's because I'm looking at my Clubhouse people. But thank you for being here. And thank you so much to the person who asked the question that I'm answering today. This person is in the room today, so I'm so grateful. And I was going to have that question pulled up so I could read the exact question, but I have been spending the last few minutes hustling to put together a really awesome gift for everyone who watches this video. And you'll find that if you're in Clubhouse, it's at the top of this page. And if you're on YouTube, it will be in the caption of this video. And that is the intake form that I have used to skyrocket the odds of a person signing up with me and receiving the change that they seek. And the question that I received, which prompted this room, is how can it seems like the people who sign up and who come to my consultations, like they're just curiosity seekers and they're not really invested in getting the change that they seek. How can I adapt my consultations to ensure that when people sign up, they sign up for the consultation, they're actually willing to invest afterwards? So I was fortunate to learn this really early in my hypnosis career. I will say right away, my disclaimer is that and I know this is weird, please don't judge me for this. I don't really enjoy doing one-on-one sessions that much. I do group sessions, but I did do one-on-one sessions to start with. And I didn't promote them heavily because I really enjoy doing group sessions. So the intake form that I'm going to share with you is something that I actually gave to people the first time I experimented with group sessions. I didn't know if group sessions could be effective. And so I wanted to experiment and I didn't want to make people pay until I absolutely knew that it was worth their money to pay. So the intake form I'm giving you is something that can work to get people to sign up for group sessions or for individual sessions. It works equally well for both. And I was blown away by the results. I put this intake form together based on teachings from my teacher, Mike Mandel. I know I talk about him in almost every video. That's because he's awesome. But I geeked out. I studied really hard about the way that he teaches people to reach threshold, which is, he teaches us, especially in stop smoking sessions. If somebody's going to do hypnosis to help a person stop smoking, it's essential that they first understand that they are at threshold, which means that they believe during that session, something has to change. It has to be me and it has to be now. So they're in a place where they are miserable and ready to change. And one of the most amazing things is this intake form that I'm going to share with you, and I'll walk you through it on the call. This intake form brings a person to threshold. So just by asking these questions, it helps a person get on board with changing. And it does some really cool things because it gives you, okay, so now you on YouTube are seeing me look over here. It's because I'm looking at my second monitor and reading the form that I'm giving you in the comments. So this form gives you instant authority. It puts you in a position of allowing the client to work with you instead of begging them to work with you. So it immediately, it installs something that says, oh, I can't even get into a consultation with this person until I filled this out. They must be really effective. They must be doing it right. So the first thing I'm going to recommend is that you don't even let a person book a consultation with you until they have filled out this form. And I know that's a little bit scary, but this is based on the psychology of, why a person signs up when they sign up. And if you have them jump through this hoop before they ever get on your books for a consultation, it's incredible. And the odds of even needing that consultation go way down. A lot of times you can just have them booked straight into your calendar. And a quick side note, I recommend setting that up on Calendly. You can create an automatic scheduler there, and you can also make them pay in advance, which is what I did when I did one-on-one sessions. And this also builds prestige for you. It puts you in that place of authority. It makes them realize this is somebody that's going to help me. This is somebody that I'm lucky to get to sign up with, and it really changes things in a positive way. If you're nervous about trying this, I double dare you to just give it an experiment, to try this and notice how things change for you. So just give it a shot and notice how effective it is. Another thing that this form does is it ensures that the client wants to solve the problem. So again, it brings them to threshold, and it eliminates the people who are just curious about hypnosis, who are just intrigued by the idea of hypnosis. Sometimes, like for us ladies, I don't know if this happens to men too, but really creepy guys will contact us because they're creepy and they're just being creepy, and they don't really want hypnosis. They want to be creepy. So I'll leave that there, but this eliminates that possibility. And then questions 17 through 21, this is an intense intake form. And questions 17 through 21 get potential clients in the headspace of solving the problem. So if they feel positive while they're filling out this form, they start to think about the what if possibility that things can change for the better. And they're thinking about you, and it's like they're feeling positive in your presence. They're relating that positive feeling to the idea of working with you and getting that transformation. It absolutely skyrockets the odds of them signing up. And then it also acts as a compliance set. So we know, at the start of a hypnosis session, we'll tell a person, okay, close your eyes, place your hands separated on your lap, place your feet flat on the floor. And those, we say those 3 things, and your 3 things may vary, because when they follow along, they're telling their unconscious mind, this is a person that when this person tells me to do something, I do it. So later in the session, when you say, change that problem now, I just tried to snap my fingers and failed. Change that problem now. The unconscious mind is already used to following what you say. And so as they fill out this form and they jump through the hoops that you require them to jump through to get on your books, they are already in a place where they are planning to book with you. Okay, so when I did this, this was about 5 years ago is when I created this form. And that's when I first started experimenting with group hypnosis sessions. And at the time I had this limiting belief that it was going to take several sessions to help a person. And I actually think it's really beneficial to do several sessions with people. I do that in the form of group sessions. You might do it in the form of one-on-ones, because even if they get a change on the first session, it allows you to reinforce that change in subsequent sessions. And I think it's really beneficial. But back then, when I did these sessions, I did a series of 8 group hypnosis sessions. And you guys, I was brand new at this. I was terrified, and I didn't really even know how to talk about how I could help a person. So in the way I remember it, I basically put up a post on Facebook that said, hey, if you want to experience a really amazing transformation and just have a life-changing experiment, you should sign up for my group hypnosis sessions. And I spoke about it with enthusiasm, and I'm sure I made some videos about it because I realized that I needed to make videos and put myself out there to make a change in the world. And I freaked out because 95% of the people who signed up, who expressed interest, were other hypnotherapists. And every single one of them had more experience than I did, had been trained longer ago, and might have even had more extensive training. I don't know. I was really well trained. Mike Mandela is an incredible teacher. So, but I didn't feel well trained. I didn't feel ready. I was freaking out. And I also didn't want to go back to being a hairstylist. So I decided to push forward anyway. And I sent them all this intake form. And like I said, I'll go over it with you in a moment. And I believe that it set the tone for an incredible transformation. And one of the things I did is I told them, this is going to change your life. You're going to be so amazed at the outcome. And I didn't do one-on-one consultations with any of them. I just sent them this form, and I didn't let them sign up for my group workshops unless they filled out this form. And most of the people who filled this out actually completed all 8 sessions. So they stayed with this for 8 weeks because they had invested their attention in filling out this form. I recommend never, ever, ever working with somebody for free. And by free, I mean, if you don't charge them money, make sure you charge them an investment of their time and attention. And I honestly don't recommend letting anybody even get on the phone with you or on a Zoom call with you without making them jump through this hoop first. So because I knew I didn't feel right charging money yet, because I wasn't sure that group sessions would be effective, I was proving it to myself as much as them. I knew that they needed to pay something else. And so I made them pay their time and attention by filling out this form. And it's been 5 years, and there are people, first of all, I formed such a cool bond with the people on that call that we're still, a lot of us are still friends today, or still like in contact today. And I still hear from these people 5 years later telling me what an impact it made in their lives and how much it changed things for them. And that's because this intake form really sets that expectation. This Clubhouse Room / YouTube video is actually part 2 of a question that the same person asked the other day. And I'm going to put a link to that in the YouTube video. I can't put it here in Clubhouse because I can't put 2 links in there. But if you DM me on Facebook, I will send you the link to the initial call, the first one of these Clubhouse rooms, where I talked about the reason hypnosis works when it works. And I presented the meta pattern or the ADAC formula, depending on, it's the same thing. It just depends on who's talking about it. And it talks about the reason a person gets transformation inside a session. And this intake form actually utilizes all the principles that are inside there. So it helps a person go from, like, it helps them really associate into the problem as they fill this out. It helps them, like, I call it poking the bruise. Like, as they fill out this intake form, they're really going to feel that problem. They're going to realize that, this is why my life sucks, because I have this problem. And then it's going to guide them through the process of realizing, oh, and this is how life can be better if I sign up with this person. So you could ask these questions on a client call, but like I said, I really recommend making them jump through this hoop. So this could be a button on your website. I know Jason Linett recommends doing something similarly. I haven't dived into exactly how he teaches this, but I think he calls it the velvet rope, if I'm not mistaken. And it's very similar to this, where he doesn't even let people get on his books or get on the phone with him. And I think he has a voice message on his answering, like when people call him, I almost said answering machine. Do we still use answering machines? I don't think so. But I think his voice message says, if you want to, I'm a very busy person. I am booked up. Like, the impression he's giving is, I'm so booked, I don't have time to talk to you. But if you want the privilege of getting in front of an audience with me, then you can go to this URL and fill out this form. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly go through this one question at a time. And I want you to be thinking, as I read these questions, be noticing we create as we narrate. So when you answer a question verbally and you start talking about it, and you've seen this in your client sessions, when you say, okay, what problem are you here to solve? And they start talking, and likely as they start speaking, it's like they are associating into that problem, and they are poking their own bruise, and they are getting sadder and sadder, or more and more anxious, or more and more depressed, whatever it is. As they talk about it, they actually create that problem for themselves, and they vivify that experience, which means bring it to life for themselves. And the exact same thing happens as they write the answers to this question. They are poking their own bruise, and it's bringing them to threshold. It's helping them realize something needs to change. So the first question is simple. It just says, what problem would you like to resolve? And then the second question says, how does this problem show up in your life? So this is helping them start to associate into the specific moments when the problem is a problem. And this is vitally important. I explained this in the Clubhouse room that I just mentioned a moment ago. In order to help a person find freedom, they must associate in to the micro moments when the problem is a problem. And associate in means that they are vividly imagining that moment in time as if they're there right now, seeing it through their own eyes, hearing it with their own ears, feeling it with their own senses. So then the next question is, how will you know when the problem is gone? And so this is already starting to condition them for the desired state, for what life will be like when that problem is a thing of the past. They're likely going to say something like, I don't know, I've never thought about it, I just won't have the problem anymore. It might be kind of flippant, and that's okay, because we're going to dive deeper later. This is just conditioning them for later. Question 4, when did you first experience the problem? So this is kind of nudging at that initial sensitizing event, which, depending on the way you have been brought up as a hypnotist, may or may not be a big deal. I personally don't think it is. And I think most people aren't going to know the answer to this question. They might, but there's a good chance they won't. And that's okay. It's just, again, it's just poking that bruise. The next question is, does this problem occur at a specific time or place? What prompts or triggers the problem? And this is a key point. This is so important, because when they do come in and book with you, you can bring them into that specific time and place and tell them, be there now. See what you see when you're here. Hear what you hear when you're here, and feel that feeling. Notice the quality of light. Notice, perhaps if anybody else is around, just notice what you notice about being here. And this lights up the neural pathway that says, this is the problem we're going to change. So the unconscious mind understands where to radiate that change. I'm not going to keep beating that dead horse, because I go in depth about this on that other presentation. The next one is, how does a problem affect your daily life? This is kind of asking the same thing in a different context, because if they didn't answer the first one in the way that they needed to, they're getting another chance at it. Question 8, when the problem is a thing of the past, what beneficial thing will be in its place? This is a powerful question. This is what gets them into the desired state. Because if you say, what do you want instead of the problem? Or how will you know when you're free? They might say, well, I won't feel anxious anymore. Here I go. I told you I wasn't going to keep reiterating the things I said in the other presentation, but I'm doing it. They won't say, oh, well, I won't be anxious anymore. I won't be depressed anymore. I won't be smoking anymore. I won't be overeating anymore. And all those things are still making a picture of what they don't want. They don't want to smoke. They don't want to be anxious. They don't want to be depressed. They don't want to overeat. But every time they talk about those things, the unconscious mind doesn't hear don't wanna. It just makes pictures of the things they don't want. It actually keeps them stuck in the problem. So when you phrase it like this, when that problem is a thing of the past, what beneficial thing will be in its place? It gets them thinking in a brand new way. And you can even, I think this is called analog marking. I don't know if I'm using this in the correct context, but I'm going to show you who are watching the video. When you say it, if you do this with your body, it gives them a visual understanding. Like if you were to say this in a consultation, or if you were to say this inside the session, you say, when that problem, and I'm holding my hands in front of me, holding that problem, is a thing of the past, and I'm whooshing it into the past with my hands, that I'm bringing my empty hands back in front of me and saying, what amazing thing will be there in its place? You'll see them do this transdervational search with their eyes and think, and they'll often say, I've never thought about that before. So if you can get them to start thinking about that on this intake form, you are actually conditioning their unconscious mind to start to solve the problem on their behalf, even if they never book with you. And I don't want you to be afraid of that, because how awesome would it be to know that you have affected change in someone's life, even if you never met them and they only filled out this form? And maybe they were never going to book with you anyway, but by just tuning their reticular activating system to start to think about what freedom looks like, you allow them to start moving toward that lofty goal. Most people aren't going to realize this. And so they're just going to realize, oh, I'm starting to feel better. I'm starting to feel hope. I'm starting to imagine how good life can be if I book with this person. And so they're going to book with you, and you're going to solidify that change during your session. Question 10, what do you believe about your ability to solve this problem? And question 11 goes hand in hand with this, which is, what has stopped you from changing already? And these are going to elicit their limiting beliefs about the problem. And when you understand a person's limiting beliefs, it gives you so much power to change those limiting beliefs and to adjust them and to help to dispel them and let them release those limiting beliefs. And that can be as simple as inside the session, say, okay, just set that aside just for a moment and just let yourself get into the possibility of what if. Like, what if this, you don't have to stay stuck in the problem? What if this can be a thing of the past? But it's really useful to understand their limiting beliefs. This is especially true in marketing when you start to, for me, I do group sessions. And so if I have an idea of really common limiting beliefs with my potential clients, I can say, this can help you with this area of your life in this way, even if you think this. So it's like you're pointing at their limiting belief and you're like, I see that you believe this, and this is going to help you even though you believe this. I hope you guys are finding value from this. I get excited about this because this is incredibly effective. Question 13, what does the problem enable you to do? What benefit does this problem give you? And so I put in here in the intake form, I put example, a cigarette helps me calm down. So when a person is engaging in an unhelpful behavior, they're often getting something out of it. So a person who is overeating is likely getting some kind of an emotional benefit. They're escaping from some kind of a reality. Same thing with just about any addiction. When a person is struggling with anxiety, they often feel that anxious behavior is actually helping them problem solve in some way. And when they start to realize it's actually taking them out of a resource state and making them more likely to stay stuck, it can start to bring them freedom. But by asking this question, you really get a clear idea. This is really another limiting belief that this thing is helping me in some way that you can dispel during the session. All right, problem 14. Have you tried to solve this problem in the past? And then there's multiple parts to this. What worked temporarily? Why or when did it stop working? What changed in your life to make the problem start again, and what didn't work? So again, this helps you understand what tools you can equip them with during the session to help them understand, okay, if your life circumstances change in that way again, here's a tool you can plug in to help you stay on track. For a smoker who uses cigarettes to cope with stress, and maybe they've stopped smoking in the past and then life got really stressful, so they started smoking again, you can give them tools for shifting out of that stress without a cigarette, because they're using cigarettes to shift out of stress. And when you show them how easy it can be to shift out of stress without ever having to dig in their purse and get out a stinky, I was going to say cancer stick. That's such a terrible, I don't know if I've ever said that before, but anyway, it can be so beneficial. And this also starts to, in their mind, help them realize, okay, when I experience stress in the way I did before, then I will plug in this new tool that I learned during this session. All right, problem. I'm going to say one more thing about that. I teach people to do workshops. I call them workshops because it's catchy and it's workshops that work, but it's group hypnosis sessions. And I recommend that you give a person one tool in each workshop. And so this could also apply to a one-on-one session. But when you help them really understand when they are going to plug that tool in, and you have them mentally rehearse when they're going to plug that in, which is called future pacing in hypnosis, it's like giving them the best gift, because you have them close their eyes and associate in, vividly imagine being in that situation that triggers the problem, and you have them mentally rehearse plugging in that tool you gave them instead. So you can do this in a workshop, and you can do this in a one-on-one session. Question 15, and please know, if you've popped in late, all of these questions are inside the gift that is at the top of this Clubhouse room or in the caption of this YouTube video. The only thing I ask in return is your email address. And I'm really, really gentle with email addresses. I only give more value like I'm doing now. So it's really safe to give me your email address. All right, so question 15, do you have any previous experience with hypnosis? If so, briefly explain. And this again is just going to help you know if you need to give them some kind of a pre-talk that helps them understand, what to expect in hypnosis. Oftentimes, if a person has experienced hypnosis in the past and didn't get the change they sought, it has to do with the pre-talk. And if you all are interested in hearing me talk about pre-talks sometime, send me a message, Lori@trancypants.com, and let me know what I love. Like this room today is someone saying, will you do a room about this? So I love knowing what you want these rooms for. So let me know if you want me to talk more about the pre-talk. Okay, so next the intake form says, okay, this is an important note. And it says, before moving to the final question, please stand up and take a few deep belly breaths. Smile and look up and ask yourself, what if I'm about to get my breakthrough? You'll be amazed at how this gets you in the perfect headspace for answering the enjoyable questions below. So what you're doing, if they participate and they actually play along with what you're asking them to do, is you are changing their 3 Bs, their body language, their breathing, and their belief, which is their self-talk. So if they're saying, what if I'm about to get my breakthrough? They're not in that place of skepticism and, oh, this can't work. And if you can get them into that powerful, positive place, and even if they don't play along, just reading about doing it makes them mentally visualize doing it. It sends a picture of doing it to the unconscious mind, and it puts them in a more resourceful place. And then you're going to ask them, I'm just going to read these kind of in rapid fire order. You're going to ask them, are you open to the possibility that you can be free from the problem and ready and willing to let it go? And then how do you know you're ready to make this change now? And if you were saying this in person, you would say, how do you know you're ready to make this change now? And you would say that as an embedded command. What will you leave behind when you make this change? When you make this change, what will you stop doing? When you've made this change, what will you start doing? How will your life improve when you've made this change? Who will you be as a person when you've made this change? So often when people struggle, they identify as being an anxious person, an addict, an overeater. I called myself, what was it? I would say I have binge eating disorder because I had read this book on binge eating disorder, and I'm like, yep, that's me. And so it's like, I am a food addict. I am an alcoholic. I have this disorder. And so when you take them out of the problem, they're going to reassociate into a new identity of having freedom. And so here's you starting to spark that idea, like, who will you be as a person when you've made this change? And then the last question is, do you have any questions before we schedule your hypnosis session? Okay, here are 2 additional hoops that I made everybody who signed up for my 8-week sessions jump through. And these are pretty big obstacles. They're barriers to getting an audience with you. And in my opinion, this makes people even more, I'm wanting to use the word anxious, but I don't want to use the word anxious. I was going to say even more anxious to sign up with you. It's going to lend even more prestige. It's going to create even more of a perception that they're really lucky to be in your presence, but it is going to decrease the likelihood of people signing up, but it's going to increase the likelihood that the people who sign up are actually at threshold. Also, if someone has gone through and answered 22 questions already, the odds that they're like, okay, I've already invested this much time. This is called sunk cost bias. I've already invested 22 questions of my life in this person. I might as well do the next 2. So the next thing that this intake form says is, if you don't know your Myers-Briggs personality type, please take this free 12-minute survey to learn your personality type and let me know your result. It's a fun test that helps you learn a lot about your strengths and will help me better create a customized blueprint for your transformation. And then I direct them to the website 16personalities.com. I have to tell you, when I used to make people take this test, and I would make every one-on-one client take it, and I would make my group session people take it, I geek out about the Myers-Briggs personality type. I know it's controversial. Some people think it's awesome. Some people think it's not. I think it's awesome, but I don't know if it really is or not. I love reading about my personality type, and it helps me understand myself better so that I know how to navigate through my weaknesses and utilize my strengths. But there were times when I would just kind of just take a quick glance at it, or I would go into 16personalities.com and really read about them and get a feel for what motivates them, for what frustrates them, for their strengths, for their weaknesses. And it gives me a sneak peek into the best way to craft that session. Now that I don't do one-on-one sessions anymore, I really don't think this is necessary. This is just an extra hoop for them to jump through that lends credence to your ability to give them freedom. So I recommend doing it, even if you don't utilize it, even if you don't believe in the Myers-Briggs personality type. This is another way that lends to your prestige. I think that's all I need to say about that. But and I do really enjoy, I don't know, I just think it's a really fun test, and that website is pretty cool. And then the last thing I make them do, and this is something I don't do anymore either. And even at the time that I did it, I didn't fully understand, like, I'm not a graphologist, but Mike Mandel teaches some graphology and it's in his course. And I love looking at people's handwriting. And there are certain things that you can pick up in handwriting that tell you a ton about their personality. It's so intriguing, and it is science-based. This isn't some kind of a weird woo-woo thing. It's science-based, and it's really cool what you can see from someone in their handwriting. So the last thing on my intake form says, I can discover a lot about the best way to lead you to change based on your handwriting. Please follow these instructions carefully. 1, use unlined paper. 2, write in your normal everyday handwriting. 3, write 2 or 3 sentences answering the following question. How will my life improve when the problem is gone? So again, as they're writing this, handwriting is such a powerful way to access the unconscious mind. So as they're writing this out, it's doing 2 things. It's showing you their natural handwriting patterns, and it is showing their unconscious mind. It's making another picture of what they want to accomplish as they write. And then number 4, sign and date. 5, take a picture of the paper and email it to me at, and then you would put your email address there, obviously. Yeah. So then I wrote, when I receive the following, I will contact you to save a spot on my schedule. So here again, you're saying, when I receive all of these things, then you can get on my books, not a minute sooner. And you guys, I know that it's kind of scary doing that, but the quality of the people who sign up with you is going to go up. Even if you did have someone who was just a curiosity seeker at first, this is going to help them start to realize, oh my gosh, I can actually get a transformation with this. And so the 3 things that it says they have to send is 1, your completed intake form, and you can put an instruction on here to hit reply and email it back. They can fill it out as an email. There's lots of different ways to deliver this. 2, your Myers-Briggs personality results, and 3, your handwriting sample. And then at the bottom, I wrote, expect that your life will never be the same after this experience. So that's kind of just a little chunk of a pre-talk. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. I hope you have enjoyed this. I use this same format, but in a much more brief, succinct way when I send people surveys. So when I'm about to do a new group session or workshop, I'll often say, if I was to do a session about time management, if I was going to show you the secret time management tips that allow me to accomplish more before lunchtime than most people accomplish in a week, would you be interested? And then when people write underneath the post and tell me they're interested, I'll say, okay, awesome. Will you take a couple minutes to share your story so I can make sure I can customize this training for you? And then I will give them a survey that follows the same basic format, but what I'm really doing inside the survey is I'm getting them to tell me the specific moments when the problem is a problem, the micro moments when time management is an issue for them. So it might be like when I wake up in the morning and I pick up my phone first thing and start texting instead of doing the first thing on my to-do list. Or it might be, when I sit down at my desk and I just like, I'm sidetracked and I go and look at social media instead of do the thing I'm supposed to do. And then when I start talking about it and start saying, hey, I'm doing this incredible workshop, I can talk about those same exact micro moments that make people associate into the problem and realize I can help them. And then those survey questions will also ask about like a desired state magic wand question that says, when this problem is a thing of the past, what amazing, like how will your life have changed? What amazing things will be there in its place? And so then when I promote my workshop, I can talk about this is how it sucks. Like this is a micro moment when the problem is a problem. And this is how that micro moment is going to transform when you've signed up. So you can use these principles, the principles that I taught today and in part 1 of this. It was the clubhouse that I did on, what's today, Wednesday? It was a clubhouse that I did on Monday. And like I said, there will be a link in the YouTube video. But I hope this has been helpful. If you are watching on YouTube, I double dare you to subscribe to this channel because my mission is to put out lots of value like this and just give you tons of value up front. And if you are curious, if anything I said today sparked curiosity for you, I would love for you to put in the comments. I tend to read every comment as they come in. Sometimes I miss them, but put in the comments something that you would like me to cover in future rooms. And if you're here in Clubhouse, you can click that little paper airplane over on the side and request anything that you'd like me to talk about in the future. So I'm going to say goodbye to YouTube, and then I'm going to wrap things up inside Clubhouse and see if anyone wants to come up on stage and ask questions or share insights. And thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope you got so much value from this. And go find your intake form wherever you're watching this video. If you're watching somewhere besides YouTube, I've put the link somewhere. Have an amazing day, my friends.